But that's the fair thing, where that when you go to the polling booth, every single vote is counted and matters equally. That must be right in a democracy. It can't be right that some votes are worth more than others.
Again, I completely agree. This is a fascinating moment. I see myself sitting here completely agreeing with Richard Tice. I think there is one thing in this country that we can all agree on. It doesn't matter what your political persuasion is, if you're left, right, Conservative, Labour, Green, Reform, Libertarian, wherever you lay on the political spectrum, I think we're all in agreement that the voting system in this country is terrible. First past the post only favours the two major parties, and as we're seeing recently with Reform and the Green Party, more and more people are looking to claw themselves away from the main parties because they don't represent our views anymore. And I kind of feel like this is a massive own goal in the political, social media area, where I think we constantly seem to be fighting each other, whether you're on the left or the right, and we're not coming together on this main massive issue that we all generally agree on. Now, I always think it's always something beautiful when two people can put their differences aside on everything and come together in agreement for a common goal. The enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of situation. You see it in films all the time, a little bit like when Obi-Wan fought with Ventress with a red lightsaber.
I want that back.
That's fine. Red's not my colour. Ready?
So yesterday I found myself watching a interview with Richard Tice by Political Joe, where he was talking about proportional representation voting system, and I found myself agreeing with the man, which doesn't happen very often. So don't be under any illusions, this is a man that I fundamentally disagree with 99% of the time. He is pushing for net zero on immigration. I mean, I literally have no idea how that would work with an ageing population, with an NHS that is desperately understaffed, with a population that's having record low numbers of children. No idea how he would work that. He's a climate change denier that takes thousands of pounds from fossil fuel companies to fund his political party that he shares with Nigel Farage, Reform. He is a man that has made millions from property development, property investment, and is invested in keeping the status quo of more private housing, more sky-high rents, more sky-high mortgages, which is complete contrast to what I want with property, with more social housing, more council housing, more affordable housing. So he is a man that 99.9% of the time I disagree with. But on this, I agree with him 100%. Let's watch the interview.
So we've had a very exciting week. We had 4 polls in double digits. So yeah, we've got lots of momentum behind us. Who knows, we might be 12 or 13 by Christmas.
So even 12 or 13%, that's huge. But I mean, how does that translate into first past the post? What does that translate to in seats?
Well, that's the challenge, and we're not under any illusion. It's quite possible and totally unfair that we could get 11, 12, 13% in a general election and, heaven forbid, 0 seats. So that would be 3 to 3.5 million votes and potentially get no reward for it in the House of Commons. And I think everybody would say, any rational person, that's not right, that's not fair, it's got to change.
Completely agree. We've seen in the past with the Greens and UKIP before have got millions and millions of votes and only ended up with either 0 or 1 member of parliament. So this is what he's talking about. In 2015, the Green Party got over 1 million votes in the UK and they got 1 seat. And the same with UKIP in the same year, the same election, 2015, they got nearly 4 million votes and they got 1 seat. And that 1 seat wasn't even got by the election, it was a defection from the Conservative. The MP was Conservative, he defected over to UKIP. So with nearly 4 million votes, they didn't even get a single seat. And that is how bonkers this voting system is. And the shameful thing is that a lot of people don't even know about this. So I talk to people, it's only really people that are sort of slightly engaged in politics that actually realise how bad our voting system is and realise that no other Western democracies actually really use this system apart from Belarus, I think, in Europe, and obviously America use the same system. People just aren't aware. We need to get the message out about this much more.
I think the country is now ready for proportional representation. It's the fair system, it's the system that's used in the vast, vast majority of developed nations. In fact, in Europe, we only share first past the post for our elected chamber like this with Belarus. It's not great company, is it?
In terms of when you're speaking to voters on the doorstep, is there a sense they feel disenfranchised by the current system?
Massively, because if you're in a very safe seat, let's say you're in a safe Labour seat and you happen to be a Tory voter or a Lib Dem or a Reform voter, you feel disenfranchised. You say, well, it'll make no difference. Why should I bother? And that's just not right. And here's the thing. Where there's PR, proportional representation, in other nations, the average turnout is about 10% higher. That's another 3 million people in the UK who would be voting, who would be engaged in the democratic process. That has to be right. That has to be a good thing. You'll get better results on that basis. But that's the fair thing, where that when you go to the polling booth, every single vote is counted and matters equally. That must be right in a democracy. It can't be right that some votes are worth more than others. And when we had the Brexit referendum back in 2016, the reason the turnout was so high was everyone knew that every vote was equal, every vote counted.
Could not agree more. It's a very strange situation I find myself in here, sitting here completely agreeing with Richard Tice, but he's absolutely right. The Brexit referendum, for the first time, this is why so many people got engaged with the Brexit referendum, because for the first time every single vote mattered. And he talked about disenfranchised voters in certain areas of the country, and it's true, I completely agree. I'm going to pull up some random constituencies here. Conservatives win by 35,000. All these votes here, the 13,000 for the Lib Dems, the 10,000 for Labour, the 3,000 for the Greens, they're completely null and void. They have no effect on the election result. They may as well have just stayed at home. Their vote means absolutely nothing. I'll put up another random constituency here. 36,000 win for the Conservatives, 2,000 for the Greens. Now, if you're a Green voter in Hampshire North West, what is the point? What is the point? Every single election, you go out, you vote for Green, you're 35,000 votes away from ever being able to win that constituency and ever being able to make a difference. What is the point? And this is the problem with this voting system. This is why people feel disillusioned with politics. Like their voice doesn't matter. Their vote doesn't matter because the majority of the time it doesn't matter. It really doesn't.
Labour at the moment are benefiting from the anyone but Tory vote. I mean, that's why they're steaming ahead in the polls as they are. But, I mean, what are the possibilities of you perhaps stepping aside in some Conservative seats to ensure that...
Absolutely zero. I've been very clear about this. Frankly, they could offer me 5 million quid in a peerage and the answer is still no.
And this is what we need to stop. We need to stop these endless games of tactical voting, of Reform candidates standing down for Conservative and Green standing down for Labour. All this tactical voting, we've got to get the Tories out, we have to vote for a side that we don't like. Just imagine a vote where you could just go to the booth and just vote for who most represents your views. We're so far away from that, we really are. And this is the main point of the video here. We need to put this message out more about PR because it's something we all share. And I think I'm positive that we're starting to see it more from right-wing politicians like Richard Tice. I've only really seen it in the media with left-wing politicians that have really been pushing for PR. But it's good to see it from the right as well. We need a complete a complete revolutionary change of our politics in this country. Things from getting rid of the House of Lords, getting citizens representing in the House of Lords, a little bit like jury service where random members of the public do their stint in the House of Lords. And we need proportional representation voting system, but we need to do it right, and we need to make sure we think about this before we do it. We need to take money out of politics for a start, because we can't have people like Richard Tice that are taking millions and millions donations from anti-climate change, fossil fuel companies. We need, if we're going to have a load of new political parties spring up, it needs to be ground-based, citizens funding, okay, membership. Small membership fees can fund political parties. We can't have millions of pounds invested. We need to get the sleaze out of politics. We can't go back into this. If you're going to start from scratch with a PR system, small membership funding for political parties, keep it grounded, keep it for the working person to fund, not multi-million corporations funding big political parties again. What's your thoughts, guys? Please give me your comments. I always appreciate your comments. Always love reading your comments. What do you think about Richard Tice? Can the enemy of your enemy be your friend? I'd love to know down below. And if you enjoyed the video, click a like. If you haven't subscribed, you can subscribe up there. There'll be another video. You can check that out as well. Till next time, take care.